So I recognize that not everyone is going to bring their car to a track, but if you're going to do that, these are the cars to do it with. So let's find out how the new Mazda MX-5 stacks up against the F4S.
Now the first thing you notice about the F4S is how fluid it can feel. And also how much feedback you actually get from the steering wheel. Brake for this corner, double heel toe, kind of gently caress it into the bends. Feel for grip. Yep, it's there. Runouts. In a normally aspirated car, I just want a little bit more fireworks at the end. And with this engine, it does the job. It gets you up to speed, but it's not in a particularly exciting manner. These seats do a pretty good job of holding you in, considering they're stock seats. The clutch does bother me a little bit. It's got this kind of weird fluffiness to it. It's a little vague. Makes it difficult to smoothly shift into gears. But aside from that, this car is pretty spot on. I just love how you can flow with this car. The slightly longer wheelbase helps absorb some of the bumps. You can definitely hit the apexes, but you need to set up for them. You need to understand that there's a slightly tiny bit of fluff on this car. So you have to be ready. It's not point and squirt. Definitely feels like you have to manage the grip levels quite a bit, but it's very communicative. Now the thing is though, it doesn't necessarily communicate you to you right at the limit, but what it does is once you hit the limit, it's very friendly. As soon as you hit an instance where the grip levels are not quite there, steering goes a little light, the asset might start to hang out, and then you can play with it right at that grip limit. And that's one of the really fantastic things about this car. That ability to play. It's not in search of lap times, although if you really wanted it to be, you could do that in this car. There you go, you got some understeer there, and then you round it out for oversteer. Just play with the throttle. You do have to be very smooth with your inputs though, this car. That's one thing it really teaches you, because if you're not smooth with this car, it will let you know, and it will let you know pretty quickly. But I think as a rear-wheel drive car, as an entry-level rear-wheel drive car, that is a great thing to do. Whoop. There you go, there was an instance of where it gets friendly, and it tells you, hey, I'm sliding, and then you have time to react to it. And if you want to, you can hold it. Can be a bit of a handful in the wet. It's definitely a handful with these tires that get a little too hot, a little too quickly. I love the way that you can feel for grip in this car. I love how balanced it is. It's not super composed, but that's part of the fun. Driving the Miata ND, 4th generation, after the mild disappointment with the last generation NC. Have they fixed it with this car? First go? Yes, they have. It is just so sharp. It is unbelievably sharp. And a lot of that default Miata roll that it's known for is just not present here. It's so in tune with what you're doing. The engine just revs so freely. Oh, brakes are very progressive. Gonna turn in for this one. Play with the throttle to get the thing to adjust around. Woohoo! The engine just revs so freely, and it's so much more willing and keen to rev. Whereas the FRS, it's a bit more of a chore. It's not here. It loves it in this car. It flows wonderfully the way I can keep it pinned down more often than I can in the FRS, where I have to kind of ease off and help trim the line a lot more in the FRS. Here, don't need to do that. And granted, the tires on this Miata is a lot better than the stock ones in the FRS, but you just have so much more confidence in these corners. Now, I do have some complaints. The car's not perfect. One, I wish the steering had a little bit more feel, but you know, this is a big step up from the NC, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. But probably the much bigger thing for me is the ergonomics. Flat through there. In the FRS, I would have had to lift off. You know, I'm 6 feet tall. Headspace is a little tight, but that's expected from a Miata. But what I don't get is enough grip in these seats. A lot of people complain that these seats are too tight fitting. Rubbish. It's a sports car. If you think it's too tight fitting, get a different car. But I do wish it just had a little bit more bolstering, and that way I wouldn't have to brace myself so much on these sort of sharp corners. The side console with the window switches digs into my knees when I brace myself. You can tell when the car is about to let go because it's instinctive. You feel so plugged into this car. And it makes the FRS look like a big squidgy blob. And that is a hard thing to do. Oh, I love rev matching in this car. Shifter, so tactile, so slick, so precise. Better than the original. Turn in, sharp, so precise, communicative, better than the original. The steering is not quite as good as the original, but this is so good. This is the best Miata ever, stock. You will not find a better handling Miata right out of the box. The brakes are sharp, it's very progressive. You can just help trim the line either through throttle adjustments or through braking. It's not quite as playful as the FRS, but a lot more direct.
The main differences between these two cars can be summarized as this. On track, both cars are great fun right out of the box. The Scion FRS is more focused on rear-wheel drive fun, whereas the Mazda MX-5 is more direct and instinctive. Both cars possess great balance and handling characteristics, but with the FRS disadvantaged by its stock tires, the MX-5 is the better partner on track. You could argue this could be easily fixed with a price difference, however. On the road, the MX-5's more tractable engine and compact feeling makes the car feel alive at any speed. The FRS, meanwhile, shows greater character and is more easily livable as a daily proposition. So while the 4th generation MX-5 is perhaps the best one of all, I still think the FRS is the choice for me.